Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Jemma, and joining me this week, I am fortunate enough to have my two excellent friends. I have Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hello.
Hello. And joining us again this week is Trev. Welcome back, Trev.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here and glad to be here when Kirk's on the show too, because the last couple times I've been on, it's just been with you, Gemma, and
Yeah.
same with Kirk. So our schedules finally meshed.
Yes. Otherwise, people will start to think you're like Clark Kent and Superman, one and the same.
Wait. Which of us is Clark and which is Superman?
I was gonna ask.
I think, I mean, Kirk, you wear glasses, right? So.
Yeah, that's true. I guess. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll take that. I'm also a bit of a writer, so I could do the
Yes.
journalist role well.
Yeah. Very
I don't
good.
know if you saw Kirk at E3, he was more Superman than me. I had a hard time keeping pace with him.
Remember, they're the same person, so Clark is still strong. It's just, he's in disguise.
Uh,
So good. Anyway, welcome back. We have a massive show again this week. We've got lots to talk about, some news updates, including a little bit of an alarmo update from our own personal perspective. We've got some horror games to talk about since we're leading up to Halloween, which is coming up very soon. And of course, the games we're playing, including Super Mario Brothers Jamboree, which we're excited to talk about since that just came out and it's a big game for Nintendo. But let's begin with a couple of news items, including Alarmo, as just mentioned. So I don't know if you guys were aware, in Australia, you had to pre-register for an Alarmo, which I did. And on Thursday last week on Twitter, Vooks, which is an Australian publication, started tweeting, "Oh, Nintendo it will be sending out emails to successful registrants by 5 p.m. today." So, of course, I saw this around lunchtime and jumped straight onto my emails and checked, and I did not have one. Kept checking throughout the day, did not get one, did not get an email. However,
oh,
my friend,
Oh,
my very good friend, I have to shout out to my good friend Pete, who also lives in Brisbane. He got an email and he purchased it on my behalf for me because he said he thought I was more of a Nintendo fan and I wanted it more. So he messaged me and
oh.
said, "Would you like me to order this for you?" I'm like, "Yes, please." So
what a great guy.
I know, I know. So huge shout out to my friend Pete. Thank you very much. I haven't got it yet. I don't know when it arrives. I think when I registered, I saw that it was being distributed sometime in mid-November, so I expect it to
Mhm.
come in a couple of weeks. Very excited to get it. Of course, I gave Pete money for it, so he didn't have to pay for it at least. But I'm very excited to get it, and that's my Alarmo story. Trev, because I don't think, sorry, I thought it was Kirk that was talking to me about Alarmo, but now I'm not sure which one of you. I haven't. Have either of you ordered or seen anything to do with Alarmo on your end?
I was the one talking to you about it
Yes,
because it was on last week's show, right? And I did last week's show and we
that's right.
discussed it. I didn't have much interest and I didn't think anyone else in my family would. I mean, I think it looks like a great product, but not for me.
Mhm.
Um, but I did show it to my family members, and Sam was interested and asked if he could get one for Christmas. So
Oh,
I went ahead and ordered one. In fact, and then I thought of you because this was like 5 days after it went on sale in the US. And I was still able to just log on to Nintendo and place the order. And I thought, why is this so rare in Australia that they got to have a
yeah.
lottery for it? And
I know.
here it's not even sold out. But yeah, so I did order one for Sam. And that amuses me to think about because he's in college and he's in a very tiny room with his roommate. And I wonder if his roommate is going to enjoy waking up to Mario or Zelda sounds
Yeah.
when Sam's alarm goes off in the morning. I think that would drive me insane if I wasn't the guy who needed to get up
Yeah.
and started hearing all that dinging.
I love that. This That's cool. What about you, Trey?
I can't believe Sam's in college. That
Yeah,
blows me
it's
away.
crazy.
I guess I was going to say you kind of ruined the surprise by telling him you already ordered it, but if he's in college, maybe he's over
Yeah,
the.
true.
Yeah,
Eh,
and it's not one of those things I think I could just get for one of my family members. Like you would either have to really want that or you're going to have no interest at all. It's not, yeah, I'm going to try the Alarmo dozen
Yeah,
thing. So I
yeah.
thought I would see if anyone's interested, and they're all at the age now where they have very specific wants and needs.
Mhm.
mm.
We'll surprise them
Yes.
with some other things.
Yeah. And it's not like it's super cheap in terms of getting it randomly and hoping they like it. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
bit of a
that's
gamble.
true
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. But it's good that he said that. So Trev, did you order or think about ordering? What's your story?
Um, I thought about thinking about ordering. No,
Okay.
honestly, it looks cool and all, but it's as you said, it's not a an impulse buy type of price,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, I was joking with the buddy who actually contributes for Pure Nintendo on occasion. He did a spread on Pokemon Sleep, which is like a
Mm.
free app, and I'm like, hey, it's the next evolution of Pokemon Sleep. You can instead of having
Yeah.
your phone in the bed, you can have the clock in the bed. Um, I like, I mean, I have a Game and Watch clock, right? I mean, that's cool, but how much were those? Like 40, $50 maybe?
Yeah.
And here with Alarmo, it's, triple digits. So I have
Hmm.
not gotten it. I wonder if post holiday, if it's going to get a discount, but it's hard to say with Nintendo. Who knows?
Yeah, it is. And just to circle back to the Australian situation, I think it will be available to everyone in Australia in March next year for some reason. I don't know why. There's such a delay. I really don't. The whole lottery thing reminds me of, Japan, and I don't know what Japan's alarmo situation is, but you remember when I went to Japan, I had to kind of enter lotteries to get into places and didn't was not successful. So even the Nintendo
I feel
Museum,
like
that's the situation. Yeah.
I
Sorry.
feel like this should be part of the presidential debates in the U.S. I want to hear the candidates' takes on alarmo availability and what they're going to
Yes.
do to make sure that everybody's able to order one.
Yeah, that would make things interesting. And which tune would they choose, you know? Is it Pikmin? Is it,
Oh,
Zelda or Mario? What like, Splatoon? What's going on with these people? So, I'd be interested to know.
Is that
Yeah.
MAGA make Alarmo great again?
Oh my gosh, that's good. Well, anyway, so when it arrives, I'll let you know and, give you my thoughts, I suppose, on whether it was worth it, but I'm excited. I do love these gimmicky things, so we'll see.
Let me ask you guys too. When you get up in the morning and your alarm goes off, are you the types to hit snooze a bunch of times, or do you, like me, just the moment the alarm goes off, you shut it off, you get up, and then you get started on your day?
Well, I do get up straight away because I set
Okay.
my alarm as late as possible to maximize my sleep. So I kind of don't leave myself any room for snoozes, pretty much. What about you, Trev?
um, I don't hit snooze, but depending on the day, like if it's a day I'm just at home or I have nothing going on, I may stay in bed and like I may get up to get a cup of coffee and then climb back in bed and look at news on my phone or pet the cat or whatever. So, but I don't
Mhm.
usually hit snooze because it just I feel like it makes it harder because then you just drift back off and then it rings again and it's like I feel like it messes me up.
Yeah, I don't like
And
that
it seemed to
feeling.
me that the Alarmo was designed more for slow risers than people who just hop right out of bed. Um, so I think that's another reason why it didn't appeal to
Mm.
me personally.
So you're saying I haven't done the right thing
Oh no,
since I'm
no, you'll I don't know.
well,
Wait
we'll
until
see.
everyone gets it and see, how it works.
Yeah.
I
I hope it
thought you
works.
did the right thing, but when I thought Pete was paying for it, but then you said you gave him the money, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, here it's 100, oh gosh, I'll even tell you, it's 159, I think it was, or something like that in Australian dollars. So certainly not cheap, way more than a game, way more than two games actually. Now that I think
How
about
Mm.
much
it.
is a game in Australia? So I can get a comparison.
It varies, but usually I think Tears of the Kingdom was it 79 or 89? Because that was $10 more than typical games. So they're usually 79.95, I think, for
Uh,
the
Okay.
first party games. You can sometimes get them cheaper. Like that's on the eShop or from like official regular prices, whatever they're called, retail prices. But you can usually get them a little bit cheaper from certain stores. Like I think Mario Party, the cheapest I saw was $64 from various outlets around town. Um, yeah, so you can shop around. That's for the physical. So usually the physical you can get a little bit cheaper at different places, but yeah, it's usually 79.95, which is a lot.
mm.
Yeah,
Yep.
mm.
Yeah, we're
Which is
about
why that
59, $60
yeah,
here, I think, for most top tier
yeah,
games.
yeah, which is relatively similar in terms of comparing US and Australian dollars.
It is crazy though when you think about it. We haven't really been hit with inflation for gaming. I remember
Mm,
buying Sonic and Knuckles as a Sega Genesis cart for like $75 back in 1994, which was
yeah.
like I can't even tell you how many allowances and odd jobs that was.
Yeah.
And here we get brand new games for 60. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
pretty
just to
good,
try to
really.
put a positive spin on it. I mean, it's still expensive, but
Yeah, it is. It is. But yes, you're right though. It hasn't really inflated like everything else. So I don't know why. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen with Switch 2. They don't bump the cost up, but if they keep it down, which Nintendo does try to do, I think they are pretty good with that. Even the consoles themselves, they always try to keep it as affordable as possible. It's not always the case, but they're cheaper than other consoles usually, aren't they? So
yeah, they
mm,
can watch the mistakes that PlayStation make and just,
yeah, yeah,
not copy them and they'll be okay.
yeah, exactly. But speaking of Switch 2, there was a bit of a rumor during the week. Well, is it a rumor or is it official? I don't know. I think it's a rumor, but it could be true. This is what rumors are. And it's not really huge, except that it's about the code name, which I don't know why Nintendo wouldn't release this themselves. But anyway, the code name for Switch 2 is apparently Ounce. And if listeners will recall back to previous consoles, we've had code names for everything, from the Switch, which was called NX. The Wii was known as Revolution. GameCube was the Dolphin, and the Nintendo 64 was Project Reality, which was pretty awesome one right there. So Ounce is, you know, apparently, like I said, the code name for Switch 2. I'm not sure, it's not really a lot we can glean from that, I don't think, because it is just a code name. It's not like it really means anything. Ounce could relate to the weight of it, I suppose, but Revolution kind of for the Wii, I suppose that was about changing things with the motion controls. Project Reality for N64, that was a little bit about because it made that 3D kind of leap into a bit more realistic looking graphics. Not realistic, but you know what I mean. Don't know about Dolphin. GameCube. I don't know what that was about. But then, yeah, what do we think
Mm.
about Ounce? And do we know if this is true, or do we just think this is one of those leaks that might or might not be true? And why would Nintendo not tell us the code name, do you think, at this point? Given we're fairly close to an announcement. It has to be before March. Any thoughts from anybody?
Well, I didn't know about this rumor till I saw it in the notes,
Mhm.
and then I searched it, and then I found more. So it tells you
Yeah.
how in the know I am with some of these rumors.
Yeah.
But I think Nintendo is just I think they're holding it to their vest till the new year
Mm. Mhm.
and the new in the new calendar year, not or however fiscal year, whatever the case may
Mhm.
be. But I don't think we're going to hear anything before
Yeah.
the holidays, as much as people have been trying to will it into existence. I don't get
Yeah.
the code name. I don't know what it means. Maybe the Switch successor is very lightweight. Not that
Mm.
Joy Cons were heavy, but yeah, I don't have a clue. And yeah, that's it.
Is is this a
Yeah.
Nintendo of Japan or a Nintendo of America code name?
Ooh. I don't know. Do they have I suppose they'd have different code names, wouldn't they? The other ones that I listed were they Nintendo of America code names, I presume?
I
Or
remember them from being in America.
yeah, that's what I thought. Like at E3 and places like that, they used to reveal the code names, didn't they? I thought. Or maybe during Nintendo Directs. And maybe they will reveal it in a future Nintendo Direct. I'm not sure, sorry, Kirk.
No, I was just curious because they don't use ounces for measurement in Japan, so I
True.
didn't know if
Mhm.
it was just a translation or if there's a word that sounds like that but has a completely different meaning.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I
I
assumed
don't
it
know.
was US. That's what kind of assumed. Yeah. We
I
don't use it
feel
here
like
either.
code
So
names. Oh, sorry.
no, that's okay. You go. I just said we don't
I was
use
gonna.
ounces in Australia.
Yeah, I feel like code names are more for the media and the industry
Mm,
than like even Nintendo itself. So I don't know how.
mm,
Um, I'm trying
mhm.
to recall. I never recall Nintendo really hyping up code names. I just remember reading about them in magazines, on websites, hearing them from like trade shows. So I do wonder if it's more of an industry thing.
And you
Yeah.
wouldn't want it to actually reveal any kind of clues about the system, would you? I mean, the code name is there specifically to hide everything about.
Mm.
the object or the person. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't read too much into this at all.
No, I assume it's that, so that within Nintendo itself, the teams working on the Switch 2 can talk about it freely by saying, "Hey, I'm working on this part of the Ounce project. What are you doing?" Or whatever. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like when they're collaborating, they can just that's how they talk about it, right? Because you don't want to say Switch 2 or whatever it is because that's more likely to be leaked or whatever. But if you're just saying Ounce and someone hears you, just like, "Oh, they're doing something interesting and weird over there, but don't know what that is." I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, just thought that was interesting, but we'll obviously find out more sooner rather than later, so yeah, see what happens.
If
I
any of
like
our
it.
listeners have theories,
Yeah,
you should comment on them.
yeah, totally. Let us know what you what you think. It does sound small, like ounce sounds small, but yeah, again, it's a code name. It doesn't necessarily reveal anything about the system itself, but yeah, could just be a cute little
I
name
hope
for
it's
it.
not power, because you know how like
Yeah.
from GameCube to Wii, the graphics really weren't all that different. I hope it's not like we're
Mm.
gonna have an ounce of power where Switch 2 kind of looks like Switch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you don't want it to feel too lightweight either because that feels a little bit flimsy then, doesn't it? You don't want it to feel
Mm, cheap.
plasticky and cheap, yeah, so definitely a balance to be struck there. We'll see. Another and, speaking of Nintendo 64, I guess, as we were previously, Banjo-Tooie is coming to the Switch Online on October 25. And I thought this was pretty exciting news. I personally have not played this game. I played Banjo-Kazooie back in the day, and I never got the sequel. Have either of you played Banjo-Tooie at all? I thought maybe Trev had for some reason.
No, believe it or not, I haven't.
No,
And
okay.
I was looking. Nintendo 64 actually had a pretty good 2000. That's the year it first came out. Had a
Mhm.
lot of like a million sellers and popular games, and it was just a case of there were too many other games that I was playing. And of course, I was younger then too, so
Mm.
um, I didn't. Although I was still living at home. I mean, it's not like I was paying. Well, I don't know. Well, for whatever reason, I did miss it. But I'm
Mm.
glad that, and I mentioned it before, like when some of the NES games came on. I'm glad to see these titles that are developed by Rare finding
Mhm.
their way back to Nintendo consoles because they've kind of been marooned in Xbox land, right? And
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
makes sense because we got the Banjo and Smash and the Amiibo, and now you
Mm.
have the
Mhm.
game. So um, I think it's good. I hear it's better than Donkey Kong 64. So
Oh, okay.
as
Excellent.
far as
Had you played
3D collectathons,
Yeah. Did you play the first? Did you play Banjo-Kazooie?
I did not blame
Oh,
Mario
wow.
64.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and to a lesser extent, Gex.
Mhm.
Gex, whatever did they have 2 and 3? I can't remember. There were a lot of 3D platformers on
There were.
N64,
Yeah, it was kind of the
and,
thing.
yeah, 3D platformers and racing games, I feel like there
Yeah,
were a ton, so
yeah. Did you,
not too
Kirk? Did
many
you
RPGs.
No, not really, actually. Yeah, and so Kirk, 'cause
That's
you
why
didn't
Kirk didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, did Kirk have a Nintendo 64? 'Cause I thought you said you got into the Nintendo got into Nintendo with the GameCube? Is that right?
Right. Yeah, that was my
Yes.
first Nintendo well, I mean, not obviously not the first Nintendo system I played, but the first one I
Yes.
purchased and owned was a GameCube, yeah. So,
Mhm. So you
but no,
probably
I've never played a
Yeah.
banjo game.
Yeah, fair enough, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I love Banjo-Kazooie, like you said, Trevor, collectathon. It is very much a collectathon, but also a really good 3D platforming, so, if you did like Mario 64, for example, you probably will get a kick out of Banjo-Tooie. Is Banjo-Kazooie already on Switch Online? I feel like I should have looked that up before the show. Or do they just jump straight into the
Mm.
sequel?
I only have the basic Switch online, so I can only play NES and, like, Game Boy.
Mm, okay.
I don't have 64, so
I do, so I should check, but I didn't check beforehand, and my Switch is out of reach, so it's fine.
I can't quite grab it.
But yes, this one comes out October 25th, so that will be during the week, or is that later this week, isn't it? Is that Friday? What day is that? That's on Friday.
Well,
So,
we're recording on what, the 19th? So about a week for when we're recording.
yeah, yeah.
Just
So
looked it up. Banjo Kazooie is on Nintendo Switch
okay,
Online Plus expansion pack.
that makes sense because yeah, I thought It was? Why would you just jump straight to the second? I didn't jump in and play Banjo-Kazooie when it was released, I suppose, on the Switch online. Maybe because I already had played it and I've just got a lot of other games to play. So I
Maybe
love
they were doing a
Banjo.
goat simulator thing. Just skip the original and go right to the sequel.
Yeah. Yeah. What is with that? Yeah, so I don't know. I would love to give Banjo-Tooie a try, but we'll see how we go. If I do, I'll let you know next week since yeah, it'll come out before the next show. This is interesting. Is this a Kirk news item about Tron? There's a new Tron game in the works called Tron Catalyst. Is that you, Kirk?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I added this one. This is coming in 2025 for PC and consoles, including the Switch. There will be a
Nice.
new Tron game, which I guess makes sense. They're kind of starting to hype that up a little bit because there's a new movie in the works that I think is
Really?
coming out in October of 2025.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, but sadly, if you're a Tron purist like me, this is very much designed after the sequel that they did back in when was that, Trev? 2012, 2013, sometime around then.
Oh,
Tron
yeah.
Legacy, I think it was.
Mm.
Maybe even 2011.
Yeah.
It was a while
So
ago.
it kind of just looks, it was a cool look in 3D for that movie, but it kind of just felt to be like some kind of European disco club as opposed to the first movie had such a unique style to it and nothing looked like it before or after, and I don't know why they didn't explore that more in video games, although there was one that came out, Tron 2.0, I think it was called. I played it on the Mac a long time ago, and that was
Yeah.
before any of these sequels. In fact, Bruce Boxleitner and Cindy Morgan both did voices in the game. So that was kind of fun. I remember. That said, although it's set in this like newer Tron grid universe, it looks like it'll be a pretty cool game. It's got a very, it's like an isometric view down in great big areas. There are light cycles. There are the discs, some disc battles that look like they're pretty cool. So it looks like it's going to be fun, even though it's not, what I want it to be. I bet I'm still going to have a good time playing it.
Cool. So it was 2010 with Tron
2010.
Legacy.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, looks like the original was 1982, the
Oh
very
yes.
first one. And
Yeah.
was Jeff Bridges, was he in the sequel, in the Legacy movie?
Yep.
'Cause yeah. Do
Yeah.
we know if
He
he's
and
gonna will he be in the third
uh,
one?
I don't know because they. I mean, do we have spoiler alerts?
Oh, well, I haven't seen it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Does he
He
get
kind of.
trapped?
He sort of made a sacrifice, we'll say,
Mm,
at the end of the
mm,
movie that they could bring him back or they could not, depending on how they're going to
okay.
approach that. But they kind of implied at the end that in this one, the computer generated characters are going to come out into the real world instead of us going down there, and it's going to be a whole AI kind of thing,
Oh, okay.
which sounds boring to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what they do with it.
Hmm. Cool. Okay. Well, hopefully it's good. So the movie is October and the game is also October, or we don't have a release date
It
for
just says 2025.
that? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't even give a time period.
Okay. You'd
Console's
think it would
2025.
somehow coincide with the movie then, I guess. Mm. Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess we'll keep an eye on that one and you can let us know more about it when it comes closer.
You'd
Um,
think it would have to come out around the same time as the movie if it's a story-driven game, because otherwise there'd be some pretty big, plot lines ruined if you play the game like a couple months before the film comes out or something.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
true.
Unless
That's
it's well, they do give a bit of the synopsis here. There's a character named Exo. She takes on the overlords of a crumbling grid, all while evading Khan, which is a new bad guy. I'm willing to bet this whole thing is going to be separate of the series, just set in the universe.
yeah, okay, fair enough. That's fine.
Hey, Gemma, when you were looking up the original Tron, did you happen to
Mhm.
see if it won an Oscar or Academy Award?
Here we go. I gotta shut off my mic and go punch the wall.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist.
No,
Yeah,
I think it.
that's yeah. Actually, yeah, I have to ask a question about these neutron things. True, too.
Mhm.
Sorry if I'm over interrupting everyone. In the first movie in Tron, there were computer programs they have a function, and there was a bad guy who was stealing them from what they're doing. And in Tron Legacy, and it sounds like in this game, they're just little people running around in a computer world. But they're not programs because they're not doing anything helpful for humans anymore. They're like
Oh.
going to nightclubs.
Yes, to
The
what
whole,
end?
Sort of like the Disneyfying of Tron,
yeah,
where
it's like
everything is.
I liked it. Like if one of them was Microsoft Word, and this, they got to have a job. They're not actually programs anymore. They're just little things moving around and having
Mm.
adventures.
Which, yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it doesn't sound very realistic. The whole thing doesn't sound very
Yeah,
realistic.
yeah.
This is even less so.
And of
Because,
course,
yeah.
I'm way overthinking these things. I do this all the time too. But I feel like you could still create this universe, but have programs still be programs doing
Mm.
something, as opposed to we're just tossing the entire concept out the window. And literally, we're going with the look. We want it to look cool. They're computer programs. That's all you
Mm,
need to know. Now have fun.
Yeah, okay. So
yeah.
they're personified into people, but they're programs that don't do anything, basically.
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
gist of it?
There
Okay.
were programs that were written to do nothing useful to anybody
Mm.
sitting at a computer keyboard.
Yeah. Maybe they're just idle programs that aren't currently being used. I don't know.
They're social media apps.
I was
They're
gonna say,
iPhone apps
yeah,
now.
or maybe AI, like AI is becoming thinking it's alive, it's its own persona. I don't know.
Yeah. We're done working for
Yeah.
you. We're gonna go get drinks and listen to Daft Punk.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. Um,
Yeah,
Thank you
sorry,
for
didn't mean
bringing
to
that.
derail the podcast again.
Mm.
My
No,
apologies, but
that's
it's
okay.
Trevor's fault for getting me angry about
It is.
Tron Academy
It
Awards.
is.
What have you done, Trev? You've opened a can of worms. Thank
I
you.
know.
No. So yes, Tron Catalyst is the name of the game to look out for in the next year or so. Maybe this one will get the award. I don't know. You'll see. Anyway, well, let's move on to spooky games because it is the season for Halloween coming up very soon. Halloween's on a Thursday this year, I think. So I'm going to be doing some trick or treating with my kids. You guys trick or treat? Your kid's now at college, so Kirk.
Well,
You
I
you
still
have
have one in
one
seventh
you
grade. Yeah,
yeah, you have Max, yeah.
he's going as
Nice.
Sigma Wolf Alpha Sigma thing. I skibbity that I
Oh,
don't
what?
get it. I
Skibbity
don't get
toilet?
it. Well, it's a wolf thing. He's an alpha. Uh, no,
Okay,
that's yeah. Literally, my stammering right there was as far as I'm going to get with what he's going as.
fair
But it's
enough.
fine because it was a cheap costume.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
I don't think I understand a word you just said. Is it like
Yeah.
Teen Wolf?
Well, that would at least be a character that I could like envision in my head. He has like a wolf mask and a T-shirt that says Alpha and it has a wolf on it. That's it. That's the thing.
Oh. Yeah,
Uh,
I'll have to ask my kids if they're aware of this. Don't know what it is. Is it a band? Alpha Wolf is a band? No? I don't
No,
know.
I don't think so.
I don't know either. Anyway, but games we do know about. So we've got a game each that we are bringing to the table that is horror themed or somewhat scary.
Spooky.
Spooky, yeah. So I will go first, and I'm playing a game called The Meeting, and this is spelled Meating. So it's meat like from an animal,
oh,
not a boardroom meeting. It's already out on the Switch. I'm reviewing it. But it is already out, I believe. And it's a platformer, which, I love my platformers, and it's got a cool kind of aesthetic, but very 8-bit aesthetic, that Trev might appeal to you. The concept is pretty simple. Is it a minotaur, right? Like one of those beasts from mythology that has horns and whatever. And I think it went on some sort of the story is ridiculous, but I think it went on some sort of dating app to find a friend or something. It met a butcher and got chopped up into little pieces. And so now you're just the head of the minotaur, and you need to travel through levels and collect your body pieces,
the
right?
dangers of online dating, man.
Yes, exactly. That is the moral of the story here. So yes, it's essentially that. It's pretty tricky. I've only really played a handful of levels at this point, but it's pretty hard. Um, Not the most intuitive, but it's fine. Like I said, the aesthetics definitely fit into the horror theme because there's little skeletons, which is pretty part and parcel. Like there's heaps of games with little skeletons, but there's also these little chicken. In a game, in a platformer or anything like that, a spider might come down from the ceiling quickly and then go back up its web. Like even in Echoes of Wisdom, we have this, right? This is instead of a spider, it's like a cooked chicken. It looks like without a head. It's just a chook with no. Do you know what I mean? Like a roast chicken that just moves. You cannot kill this thing. It's really annoying because it just sort of hits you, and you have to.
Where does the level take place? Are you like in a butcher's freezer or something?
Well,
Or
I don't know because the levels are laid out like in a cow, broken up into its pieces, and so world 1 is the head. So
oh,
I don't know if you're in the cow, maybe, but why would a chicken be in a cow? I don't know. I don't know. It's all very meat themed though. There's lots of meat. It's not a game for vegetarians. Please stay away if you do not eat meat. You will enjoy it. But yeah, it looks like you're in some kind of meaty area. Like it looks very there's lots of brown and orange and that sort of colors. Like it's very themed that way. And the goal of each level, which they're quite short to begin with, the goal is to just find a key in the level and then go to the locked door, and then you can move to the next level. So it's relatively straightforward that way. And you have a few moves up your sleeve. You can kind of dash to kill enemies. You kind of headbutt them. You don't really have a weapon. You just, I guess, because you're ahead. Actually, that makes sense now that I think about it. You can headbutt them. Um, and you can also kind of float, like you can jump with the A button, and then you can jump again and hold the A button, and you can kind of float momentarily. There's a like little bar that goes down, so you can only do this for a short period of time, but it helps you cross bigger platform areas that you couldn't jump across. So that's my story. It's it's interesting to say the least. It's not for everyone, but it's creative, and definitely somewhat spooky. It's weird, but no, it's fine. It's a platformer. I'm going to keep playing it and review it during the week. So keep an eye out for that one. It's not, yeah, not what I thought, but what kind of is. I did read the synopsis, and it is about a minotaur who's been chopped into pieces. So I guess I did kind of know what I was getting into with this one. So yeah. Any questions for me about the meeting?
I have a comment just for
Yeah. Okay.
um, people who are curious. This is from Mega Cat Studios, and a lot of their Switch games are also available as physical NES cartridges. So if you're a collector, they have this available on their site. You can get it with a box or manual or even just a loose cart. But I feel like, from what I know of this company, we actually featured them in a buyer's guide in P&M years ago. But they tend to gravitate towards creepy or like supernatural stuff, for better or worse. It doesn't always fit with the games, but um, this is one of them. They also had a horror themed Punch Out game called Creepy Brawlers, which we have a review on the site from way back. So, yeah, if you see this game and you are a collector and want to own it tangibly, you can check out their website.
Yeah.
It's a lot more money though.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. And it does feel like an NES game as you're playing it. So if you do like that style, so it's sort of yeah, they're puzzle levels really, since each level is just aiming to get out of the level. So pretty simple in that regard. But you do unlock certain powers as well. I think I guess he unlocks um, the power of like telekinesis or something, and he can kind of move these green blocks with his mind, I suppose, since he has a head. Anyway, it's all good. Maybe we don't need to go on and on about the meeting, but yes, it's out there. Check it out. Watch my review. Let's move on to Trev's spooky game of the week. What have you got for us?
Yeah. Well, I want to emphasize, I don't want to shortchange this and think I put it in just to fit the theme of spooky games, because I don't care if you're playing this in snowy February or on the 4th of July or whenever. I think this is just a good game that
Cool.
happens to be kind of in that creepy mold. It's called Crow Country, which at the time I'm recording this, it just came out. I unfortunately didn't beat it until the day it came out, so my review is not up as I'm talking, although it should be up by the time this podcast post. And it's designed sort of in the style of like classic Resident Evil. It has a dated aesthetic deliberately, which actually works in the game's favor because it sort of looks like a primitive, like a 32-bit type look, which I really like because a lot of these games, like The Meeting, for instance, goes for that 8-bit look, which is classic and everyone loves that. But I feel like trying to emulate like a 32-bit look is a little more ambitious. And
Mm-hmm.
this game takes place in a abandoned amusement park, which is a classic setting for creepy. I think like old Scooby Doo or whatever the case may be. And what's nice about this is there's different modes. So originally, I was playing this with my wife, and we picked the middle mode, which has threats. They're not really. Are they zombies? Are they monsters? Are they aliens? Are they something different? I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but I found the combat pretty clunky. And to be fair, it's designed where you don't want to kill every baddie. You want to avoid them. So what I ended up doing, we played through a lot of the game, and then we reset it to just focus on the puzzles, and then you didn't have to deal with combat. You'll still see like the monsters, but they'll be downed, like they just drop dead for whatever reason. Which sounds weird, but I liked it a lot better because combat is not this game's strength. The game's strength is atmosphere and puzzles and story. It's an interesting story. You find a lot of documentation from like park staff and different things that sort of lead you in a direction of what might have went wrong. And there's a lot of surprises. There's twists. So um,
Spoiler.
yeah, but it's just a really fun game. And I like I said, I liked it enough to basically start fresh, which is another reason my review's late. But yeah, I think without the combat, I'd be scoring it even higher. But even with that, since it is optional, I think I'm still going to score it pretty high.
Yeah, it looks kinda cool. That one of the monsters in the screenshots looks pretty creepy. This, like, elongated, thin, skeletal kind of creature. I don't know what that is, but that looks creepy.
Yeah, they're definitely. It does straddle the line to some extent with that teen rating.
Mhm.
There is blood. There is some disturbing themes. There is some kind of grotesque monster designs, but at its heart, it really is, I think, about the puzzles, trying to navigate your way around the park. And, it has that classic style, kind of like Resident Evil, but it feels fresh at the same time, like it's doing its own
Mm,
thing.
cool. Yeah, it's pretty fun, actually. I love that the abandoned amusement park is called Crow Country, is that right? Like, the game is named after the amusement park?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the owner or founder was last name is Crow,
Mhm.
and um, yeah, it's interesting. Like as you navigate and as you open up like staff areas of the park or rides that have been closed up, you'll find random documents and like newspaper clippings talking about, oh, Edward Crow, I think maybe that's his name, has
Mhm.
purchased land to open a new amusement park and is popular with tourists. And then, oh, he's closing it up. What's going on? And
Mm.
there's different layers to the plot that you'll try to dissect. I was still surprised at the end. In certain respects, I wasn't 100% surprised, but yeah, it's nice. And the way it's laid out, there's basically like kind of a central corridor, and there's wings off the park that have different themes. Like there is, like a horror themed area, and then
Mm.
there's like one that's more like under the sea aquatic, and then um, different things like that. So it feels distinct but yet cohesive, if that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, sounds really good. Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing your full review then, Trev, when it comes out soon.
Hopefully, right now, if you're listening to this right when I
Yeah,
post.
yeah. Jump onto purenintendo.com and check out Trev's review of Crow Country. Um, Kirk, you're up. What would you like to talk about in terms of scary games, spooky
The game
games?
I'm talking about is called Paper Ghost Stories Third Eye Open. Um, I'm not going to say it's a scary or horror game. It's a creepy. It's kind of a ghost story.
Mhm.
Paper Ghost Stories is a series. This is the first game I played, so I don't know about the rest of it. The paper comes from the fact that the visuals are very much like it's like you're playing with 2D paper drawn characters. I mean, they're literally flat in a world that is mostly flat also, like as if the everything is just kind of built out of paper, and the way they move, it's interesting because they're animated while staying on this 2D piece of paper kind of thing. It's hard to explain, but if you look at the screen captures, or if we have video going on while we're talking about it, you'll kind of see what I mean. It's centered around a young girl named Ting. She's going to start preschool soon. The whole thing, I should point out too, because it's very much part of the story, is it's set, I believe, in Malaysia,
Mm.
and it has a very culture specific vibe to it. I like this part of it a lot. They use a lot of the vernacular of where these people live, and then they will explain this is something that people say when it's like you learn a lot about the language as you're playing it, even though it's obviously in English. But they're using a lot of uh, like I said, the vernacular of the area and words that aren't translated in English, and then they explain what it is and how people use it. So I found that kind of interesting. It's not really heavy on that, but it pops up enough that yeah, you could tell it's very much a design choice that they were making as they were coming up with the story. Um, anyway, back to the ghost part of it. Ting has
Mhm.
a ghost friend. It's her only friend, and this is kind of splitting the parents apart. The mother is kind of understanding. The father is, we need to get this girl in school. She needs to quit, with the imaginary friends, and so that's kind of driving a wedge between that. So it's creating some tension. But also, not only does she have this ghost friend, but she's also able to see other spirits or lost souls, and then she has to decide, who am I going to help? Sometimes she sees a couple and they're conflicting, so she has to decide, who do I help, what do I do here? And then there are some dark spirits, which is kind of where the scary parts come in, where she's being haunted by these things that don't have the best intentions, and she needs to hide from them too. So it's this mix of a couple, it's puzzle, it's there's, I won't say action, but some like with kind of survival horror, but all kind of like light and accessible. I think this game would mostly be, it's rated teen, for violence only, and I maybe will aim this one at the goosebumps crowd.
Mm. Cool.
So
It looks
not really
yeah.
scary, but it involving and tense at parts.
Right, okay. I like the style of it, the paper style. Looks really cool. Different way to present a ghost story.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
do a good job with that. It's fun to move around the area, and there's a lot of exploration as you're solving things and meeting new characters and going into different parts. You're in town, you're in people's houses. Again, all set within the. It very much looks like the area where it's taking place, obviously.
Mm.
But yeah, so the visuals are one of the highlights.
Do the ghost characters look different in terms of the paper? Like, can you tell from a player perspective that they're ghosts, or is it just because they're part of the story, you know they're ghosts? Like, visually, do they stand
Yes,
out at
for the
all?
most part, yeah, they're presented as, let's say, not as clear, and there's kind of like a wavy, staticky animation to them.
Mm.
So and like the first time we see one, she's like, "What was that? Did you see that?" And she's talking to her ghost friend. They're like, "We should figure out what that was." You, as a player, you see it, so yeah, you do kind of see these, and either need to work with them or seriously avoid them.
Okay. And is it the
You
case
know
that
how
you
I
have
picture it? I'm sorry, Gemma.
That's okay. How? How do you picture it?
Do you remember The Simpsons when Homer was trying to gain weight to go on disability? And Dr.
Yes.
Nick Riviera, he's like, "Here's my rule of thumb." He has like a fast food sandwich, and he's like, "Rub it on a piece of paper. If the paper turns clear, you know this is good for you."
Yes, I remember that one. Do the ghosts look like grease smudged paper in Homer's diet in inverted quotes? Yeah,
Or even the wall of
yeah,
Krusty Burger.
yeah, yeah. And the bird hits the wall. Um, is it the case, Kirk, that you have multiple ghosts to help at once, or is it more like you help this one ghost and then you help this other ghost in a
No, you will
sequence?
yeah, you'll sometimes have multiple things
Mhm.
going on.
Oh,
Another unique thing about it too is you have to make choices as you go along, and it doesn't give you a lot of time to make this choice. They will present you with a few options, and there's a little counter, and you've got
ooh,
to decide quickly what you're going to do.
mhm.
So I thought that was cool too. Although that gimmick on video games, especially on the Switch or any system, I suppose, isn't as important as it used to be because you could always just pause the game by hitting the home button
Yeah.
and then thinking about it. So if you're going to cheat that way, you could certainly cheat, but I don't think
Mm.
this game warranted it. I just kind of bowled right through it and don't think that any decision I made was terribly wrong at any point. So
Does it do your decisions affect the story or the ending or anything like that?
yeah, there are points. I haven't gotten to the ending yet, so I don't know how different it would turn out based on some of the things I've done or who I've helped along the way. But sometimes when you make a decision, you can tell that it goes down a very specific path. So I think that
Mm.
yeah, there are some where uh, it's more important and could warrant, I guess, a little more time for you to think about it. But it's I think the focus on the game is the pressures this girl is feeling both within her family and the fact that she's able to communicate with the dead.
Yeah.
So by forcing you to make these decisions quickly, it throws that pressure onto the player too, and I think that's a good choice.
Very good. Cool. Well, that sounds excellent. 3 games that we have highlighted this week. Listeners, let us know if you've played any of these, which is your pick. And or do you have your own games to recommend? We'd love to know what you're playing this Halloween season. And then next week, I guess, will be our final spooky episode. So we'll come back with a few more, hopefully, next week for our Halloween, I guess, our official Halloween episode, I suppose you could call it. But yes, thank you both for the spooky games. Now let's move on to some regular games, I guess, non spooky games that we're playing. And I am excited to talk about Super Mario Party Jamboree, which just came out just what days ago, mere days ago. And this is, I haven't had a lot of time with it, but I have certainly jumped in and had a go because, as I think we all are, we're all pretty big fans of Mario Party. It's been around. Trev, help me out. When did Mario Party start? Was it on the Super
Ooh,
Nintendo?
yeah, I want to say
Yeah,
1999.
really.
I know
I
that
thought it
sounds
might
like
have
a
been older.
question, but I'm pretty sure. All
Anyway,
right, keep
it's been
talking.
around
I'll
a long
look it
time.
up.
Okay. It's been around it's well over 20 years. It's been around a long time. They were counting the games, I suppose, for a while. Like, we got up to Mario Party 10, I think, and then we've got, I think there was Mario Party DS, there's the 100 top 100 games one, there's obviously the Switch has a couple that aren't sequential in terms of numbers. One is a bit of a retro one anyway,
Oh,
with
I
that
was
Mario.
close, Jemma.
Yeah?
December 18th, 1998. So
Oh,
I was
there you
off
go.
by like
There
2 weeks.
you go. Yes. Cool. And was that sorry, that would be the N64 then, was it?
Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
that Nintendo had to give you a glove because you get so many blisters from rotating the. Ugh.
Yes. Anyway, I don't know that I need to explain what Mario Party is. I think listeners probably know that it's a board game based game, with lots of mini games thrown in as well. This one boasts 110 mini games. I think it's a lot. I think it's the most we've ever had in a Mario Party game.
It
20
actually says over 110
over
mini
110. Oh,
games,
there you go.
so it
Sorry,
could be
my bad.
180.
It could be.
Or
But it's
111.
Like, yeah,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
just say it. If they're
Just
113, just say 113.
yeah.
We'll
It's fine. It's a yeah, totally fine. We're not gonna we're not gonna have an issue with that.
no.
Someone maybe out there will count them and see. Maybe also do they add no, they don't usually add DLC, do they? Or they could though. Maybe they'll add games. There's 22
No.
characters, which is the biggest roster that we've seen. And from what I don't know that I have no, there are definitely some that you have to unlock though, because when I jumped in, there are at least 2 shadows of characters. So, which is fine. There were a lot available though. I just chose Daisy because she's my go-to. So I'm always pretty much Daisy, but I saw, Shy Guys there and obviously Mario and Luigi, Princess, etc. Um, yeah, so there's a lot. And do you know what else struck me when I first loaded it? Is just how much there is going on in this game. It's not just the boards and mini games. There's a lot of other modes happening, some of which we know about from the trailers, like the Coupathlon, which I did jump in and try with the 20 players. I made the mistake. I didn't realize. I thought I was playing against people online. I was just playing against computers. So I can't speak to the efficiency of the online competitive play for that one, but I did play against the AI and I did win
It
quite.
wasn't like ghost data of real players or something like that?
No, I don't think so because it didn't have names. It just had like Mario and Toad and the names of the
Ah.
characters. Whereas I had my name. So yeah, it was definitely not that. And it just loaded so fast. It didn't say connecting or matchmaking or anything like that. I must have just gone, I don't know whether you need to unlock it or if I just went to the wrong area. I'm not sure, but played it a couple of times. I'll check the settings and give it a go because I would love to see how the online performs with the 20 people and do some matchmaking. And also, I like just want to win against real people. Like winning against the computers is one thing, winning in real life is also another. But I did
Mhm.
get a bunch of achievements by winning. There's a whole lot of achievements you can get, and Mario Party games are no stranger to this anyway. But you can earn, stickers. You can earn points. I think party points, whatever they're called. That you can go to the shop and buy things, which I just love all that as well. So there's heaps of that included. There's also a new mode called Party Planner Trek mode, which is a bit of a story mode, I suppose, slash tutorial, but you go through and help other residents of the Mushroom Kingdom with little tasks, and you end up doing mini games with them, and then you earn these mini stars. And I think the goal is to get 30, I think, at least at the beginning. It's pretty fun, and it's one player. Yeah, that one's one player, I think. But there's also a mode, Bowser Kaboom Squad, which is an 8-player. That's more of a co-op situation where you're helping to beat this giant version of Bowser. It's not Bowser, it's imposter Bowser, for some reason. But yeah, I think oh yeah, Kamek created this imposter version. When you do the intro, you'll see Kamek decides to spice things up by using his magic and creating imposter Bowser. So it's kind of a slightly purpley version of Bowser, and he's gigantic and he causes havoc. I guess so that Bowser can be part of the game as well without being the bad guy. So Um, yes, that's fun, and yeah, the Coupathlon also has Imposter Bowser. Your goal is to kind of beat him as well, and every 3 rounds, I think you do battles with him, and they're really fun. They're the ones you've seen on the trailer where you have to run as quickly as you can and not fall down holes while this giant version of Bowser is chasing you. It's all very fun and chaotic, and so far I'm loving it. Like it's super fun. Um, as I've said, I'm a big Mario Party fan. I've been playing it, I'm pretty sure since the beginning. I remember bringing home Mario Party 1 or 2, I don't remember which one, on the N64 from a video shop back in the late 90s, I guess, and playing it with some friends. So, yeah, we've definitely been there since the beginning. Um, yeah, I guess I will play more during the week. It's certainly what I love is that you can definitely play it by yourself or with friends. And even though I haven't tried, I do love that there's this online aspect as well, which I'm pretty keen to give a go. I'll probably give it a go after the show today. So, how about you guys? I know you haven't managed to get it yet, but it's only just come out for us, 2 days ago. So, any questions or kind of thoughts about Super Mario Party Jamboree so far?
How are the boards? I know there are quite a few of them, but how do you think they compare to some of the actual game boards in the past?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't tried an actual board in a game situation yet. I have looked at them
Okay.
though, so I definitely want to play them, and I will. We just didn't get time yesterday. We had a family function. I couldn't get a whole board game in. And my son was like, "Let's play." I'm like, I want to." Um, we will probably play that also later
There's
today.
party right in the name, Gemma. It's
Yes,
Mario
I
Party.
know, I know. I did suggest. Well, we almost took the Switch to the party thinking we could play, but we didn't end up doing that, which yeah, maybe I should have. No, too late now. Certainly look really cool. They definitely give you the intro. Like Kamek does this huge spiel at the start of the game, which I think he needs to because there's just so much going on, and they've divided it all into islands. So there's like Board Island and Minigame Island and Toad Shop Island. I don't know what it's called. So you can see them, and he kind of not walks you through them exactly, but he does give you a glimpse of them. We know what they are. There's the Wiggler Run. There's the kart racing one, the shopping mall one, the Bowser's one, and the other one that I've just forgotten. But yeah, I think there's 5, plus a couple of retro ones I think they threw in for good measure. So yeah, there's heaps there. I definitely want to play them because I want to know. Each Mario Party is a little bit different in terms of um, how the dice work or how those allies work. I think it was one of the Switch titles had allies where you could have helpers who give you extra dice
Oh,
rolls, that kind of thing. I think
yeah.
that's back in this version as well, which I'm really excited about because that was a really fun thing. Even just collecting little friends on the board to follow you around, it's just fun. I was thinking, and I don't think this is the case, but I was thinking because they've got these 8-player games going on with the Bowser Kaboom Squad, I'm like, why do we have to have 4? Why can't we do like just if you only have 2 people, like you can do 2 people and 2 computers in Mario Party, right? Or 3 people and 1 computer. Usually there's 3 of us because it's myself and my 2 kids. And the AI, we kind of gang up on them because we don't like them and they're a bit dumb or hard or whatever. So it'd be nice to have it so that you could do that a bit more. Like maybe just have 3 players or maybe have 5 players, like or 6. Like I wonder why we have to restrict it. Maybe because of the mini games, I guess, but it'd be nice to see if we could maybe change up that formula a little bit where we have different numbers of players or teams. I don't remember which Mario Party had teams, but one of them had 2v2, which was cool because then we could do if there were 2 of us playing, we could go 2 of us together playing against 2 CPUs, which I quite enjoyed. Didn't quite work for 3 because we'd always have to go, "Oh, who wants to go with the CPU?"
Mm.
Um,
You just
yeah.
explained the Tron story. You're all ganging up on the computer player, and he's had enough.
Yeah.
So he's going to run
Yeah,
off to the virtual nightclub and plot
yeah.
against you.
That's it.
Cue
Yeah.
dance music.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
agree with you on the odd number of players because throughout the whole game, if you're playing a standard version of it, they're constantly flipping who you play with anyway. So it's not like,
mm,
aside from the one you did where you could kind of choose your teams up front, your allegiances are constantly shifting throughout the whole game. So why not allow
mm,
3? Because the same person isn't going to be stuck with the AI partner every time. It's going to
yeah,
keep flipping depending on what space you land on the board.
mm. Yeah, I would like to see that, and, hey, maybe it may if it's in this one, I'm gonna be eating my hat, or is that the
No,
saying?
okay, well,
Because I haven't tried it, but I don't think it is. I don't know, they didn't indicate that in the trailers, but, hey, I could be wrong.
You better
I,
really eat your hat, Gemma, because I've heard that promise before. Matt Paxton still owes me eating his hat from years ago.
Yeah.
And
What was the, quote, Trev? Because I butchered this last week on the show. On The Simpsons, when you're right something percent of the time, you're wrong some other percent of the time. Do you remember that? It was a football-related quote, I think, in terms
oh,
of
it was like, yeah, when Homer was trying to bet on football,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and they're like, well, when you're right, like 51% of the time, you're wrong 49% or something like
yeah.
that.
Something like that.
It's like basically guesswork, right? 50-50.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, Mario Party, it's going really well. I will continue to play it and can give you an update next week if you like. But yes, it is really fun. Definitely recommend it at this stage, although pretty early days. Haven't tried the boards, but the rest of it is looking really good. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited.
I'm
You.
looking at the description here right now, and it looks like there's a feature in this one that's going to cause conflict with my family before we even start the game.
What's that?
Because it says here there's a section called Party or Pro, and you can play with party rules for a more
Oh.
lighthearted Mario Party experience, or flip to Pro rules when you want to downplay
Oh.
luck and focus on skill.
Ooh.
Some of my family members rely on luck to sometimes win.
Yes.
Others are 100% skill and get furious when they end up not winning just because someone got lucky in one of those. Well, I happened to pick the right random thing, or I
Yeah.
landed on this space, the special space is more, and so I got an extra star, so I win. So
Yeah.
we're going to have conflicts even deciding what mode to play before this even
Oh
begins.
gosh. Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't know what we would
Yeah,
choose because yeah, I the luck thing is annoying. It's like
We'll
I'm
find out who
usually
the real
yeah.
alpha wolf is in Kirk's household.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
The funny thing too is the graphic they show party rules, which is the luck mode, and underneath it says "fun for everyone." Like that just isn't true. It's not true at all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on from Mario Party to do you want to talk about what you're playing, Trev? What else you're playing besides Crow Country?
Oh yeah, I can do that briefly. So I'm playing a game called Hatch Tails, a heroic hookshot adventure. Kind of glad
Mhm.
they expanded the title a little because Hatch Tails sounded pretty generic.
Yeah,
But even
yeah.
then, this game is basically a Chicken Wiggle 2. That was a 3DS game from almost 7 years ago.
Mm.
Or actually 17, 18, 19. Well, it was a long time ago. It was
Yeah.
after the Switch came out. Not too long after, but this game has a very troubled history, and I'm not going to dwell on it, but I also feel like I have to acknowledge it. This was a Kickstarter from 2018 that started as a port of the 3DS Chicken Wiggle, and 6.5 years later, and constant delays and excuses and mismanagement, it's turned into this kind of sequel. Apparently, the original game and the original pixel art's still in there. I haven't figured out how to access it. I don't know if it's an unlockable or, um, if I'm just doing something. I haven't played it very long,
Mm.
but core gameplay is there. But I feel like it's lost a bit of the charm for whatever reason. Jules at Atui speculated that the game was too kiddie and that's why it didn't do well. I don't disagree with that at all. I feel like the chicken and the worm mechanic was kind of like that Banjo Kazooie thing we were talking about, right? Where you have
Mm.
the two partners working together. Now we have a chicken and a hook shot. Um, it's it's lost some of the charm, but the gameplay remains. It's still fun. It does seem like he sort of buried the create mode because you could design your own levels, which was a lot of fun. And I feel like that was half the game. Um, it's hidden in the menu, and I don't know why it's not emphasized again. He's got his marketing reasons, but um, yeah,
Mm. So it is
I,
there. So there is a create mode, but it's just very hard to find, is it?
yeah, like it's not. In the original, it was basically half the game. Like, oh, it's a level editor and there's a fun platformer with it. Now it's like there's this platformer and let me dig through the menu. Okay, what's online mode? Like, it doesn't even have its own like menu feature per se. It just dumps you into the main game. Because I wanted to find like some of my old levels I made on the 3DS, which I eventually did, but I worry that he's misreading the market, thinking the game didn't do well because of a kiddie look and level creation, where really it was more about the competition it had, not just from the Switch, being fresh right when this game launched originally, but also a lot of great 3DS games came out around the same time. And,
Mm.
I'm not a marketing guy. I don't know, who's in his circle where he's getting these ideas. It wasn't from Kickstarter backers, which is part of the frustration. But all's well that ends well. The game has finally made it out. It's not vaporware. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I'm gonna have to see. I got a lot more to digest with this one, and I got a lot more to play. It's fun, but if you're hesitant to pick it up, I totally understand why.
Yeah. Do we know how many levels there might be?
I really don't because the the main game, like I said, it's not really Chicken Wiggle. It's like this new thing.
Mm.
It's got a new. Um, I don't know if it's a new protagonist or if it's just the protagonist minus the worm. It's got a new story that honestly is not needed. And a lot of the levels are fresh, which is good. I like new levels, of course. That's not what people supported. So
Mm.
I feel like it's sort of a little bit disingenuous taking funds and using it for something else for many years. But the original game supposedly is still in there with the original pixel art. Like I said, I just have not figured out how to access it. I don't know if I have to beat a certain point in the game or what. I may just end up emailing Jules. Of course, by the time this podcast comes out, I may have well figured it out. But
True.
um, yeah, it's a good game. It's a fun game, but it's its troubled history is tough to stick my head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist. So I just worry
Mm.
that the market for this game has been turned off, and of course, it's legit, right, to say this game came out late in the 3DS life and that's why it failed. But here we are, almost 7 years later. This game coming out late in the Switch life.
Yeah.
Everyone's gearing up
Yeah.
for the next for Switch Ounce or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm worried about this game. Even though I personally like it, I'm worried about it, if that makes sense.
Mm. And I wonder if that's why they changed the name to separate it from the original because of the Kickstarter sort of side of things. Give it a new title so that people don't associate it. Although if you weren't on the Kickstarter and you saw like it I didn't really know about this until it came up recently, that it was a thing. And I kinda looked into it. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I know Chicken Wiggle, I played that back in the day as well, like 7 years ago, back in the day. And if I saw a Chicken Wiggle 2, I'd be like, "Oh, cool. I'd be interested in that. I like Chicken Wiggle." I don't know.
Yeah, at least he did it. Like I said, he did add Heroic Hookshot Adventure, which makes the title better because Hatch Tales by itself is terribly generic. Like,
Mm.
what type of game is Hatch Tales? Is it like a visual novel about chickens or, at least now we get a better sense of what the game is. So, again, marketing's
Mhm.
tough. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
it is. It is tough.
Are the levels more action or puzzle based, do you think?
That's a fair question. For the original Chicken Wiggle, I feel like it was a little more of a straightforward platformer. The new levels do seem to up the difficulty slightly, and it's hard to gauge, right? Because I mean, if I can beat a level after a few minutes, how tough is it? But at the same time, if I'm dying a lot to get there, I don't know. There is some fast action and reflexes needed, and a little bit of trial and error. I'd say the puzzle elements come from finding um, extras. Oh, and there's a point. I know I'm watching the clock, but to advance to the next level, you basically need a certain number of collectible gems. And I think the first time I played through, you needed like 20, and I got 19, but I had only missed like two. So I'm like, what the
Mm,
heck? You basically have to get all but one gem to advance. And thankfully, I had unlocked some side quests. But are they really side quests at that point where you kind of need to play at least one to get the stuff necessary to advance?
mm,
It's curious to say the least, but those are the puzzle elements. Trying to find those things because they're off the beaten track or in inaccessible areas. So I think it's a good mix, and I want to stress it's a fun mix. It's just it does feel somewhat muddled.
mm. Yeah, that's interesting. It will be interesting to see how you go the further you get into it. That's so you can't even get to the next level without the gems? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's very very linear, and
Wow.
I get to some extent needing things to advance. But as I said, there's only in that first world. There's only 21, and I
Yeah.
had 19, and I still couldn't. I needed 20, so there's very little margin for error.
Mm. It's a
And
high
I'm like,
threshold.
that's just the implementation's weird, and I can't say it's like rushed because the game's been worked on for almost 7 years. So
Yeah.
I don't know. If you're gonna
Mm,
if you're gonna call them side quests, make sure they really are side because at this point the side quests feel more mandatory.
mm.
Fair
Interesting.
enough. They're fun, but I hope the game does okay because we featured chicken
Yeah.
levels in P&M back in the day, like
Hmm.
user designs. I'd love to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an awesome idea. Yeah, well, I'm not sure what to add to that. Thank you for the summary, and I hope it does well, like you said, honestly. We'll see. We'll see how we go, and we'll watch for your review as well over the next days and weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Do we
hopefully
have?
days and not weeks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I like the look of it. It's obviously another platformer. Hook shots are awesome. Like, it's like one of my favorite, Legend of Zelda items is the hook shot.
Yeah, it
And there's
controls well
plenty.
too.
Yeah, right, and there's plenty of other platformers that use that mechanic, and it's a fun mechanic. So, if it's done well, then it's a good thing. The trailer looks pretty fast paced. Like there's lots of, in the trailer there's lots of collectibles, lots of little gems to get, but obviously, you know, you have to get more of them than miss in order to
Yeah.
proceed, which is a bit frustrating.
At least for that first
Mm.
world. Like I think I'm in world
Mm.
3 now, so I don't know if that
Yeah.
levels out to some extent, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Fair enough. Do we have time for one more from you, Kirk? One more.
I can be brief, I
Okay.
think. Mainly
What?
because my review for the game that I'm going to talk about here, which is called Drova, is just waiting edits and should hopefully be published by the time this goes out. So I'll
Cool.
introduce you to the game and you can get all the details in the review.
S-
But Drova is a throwback action RPG. I kind of want to compare it a little bit to Baldur's Gate 2, the original games, not the new hugely popular one. Um, except that it focuses less on D&D style mechanics and more on community building, and that kind of mechanic. It's a very grim story. It's very dark. The environments are wonderfully detailed in pixel art. The characters a little less so. They actually look a little ratty, but it's fine. The game plays well. But yeah, so you're this character who kind of gets, I don't want to say sucked into this world, but you become part of this world called Drova, and you there's an adventure to it, there's a story to it, but it really starts small, and it's not like in a lot of games where you're destined to become something big. In this one, you very much have to find your role within the community, and take on quests to be able to level things up as always, except it's really hard in this one because it's difficult to make money and you need money to buy things and to craft things. You get weapons but they're not great. You get some magic. The beginning of the game is a little difficult in that regard, but once you're able to start accumulating things, then you're able to you know branch out and sort of begin the adventure in earnest. The funny thing about it too is that it doesn't slowly introduce you to enemies. Like the enemies don't get tougher as the game goes on. They're you just need to know who you can beat and who you can't. But it doesn't really tell you a lot on who that is. Like let's say Xenoblade Chronicles, where when you're running across these giant landscapes, you can see how tough a monster is and just try to avoid it. In this one, they're like stay on the path. I mean, the game will tell you don't go into the woods. And what was it? That line from American Werewolf in London. Have you ever seen that movie? Keep off the moors, stick to the roads.
Mm.
Trust them, just like in the movie. Stay on the roads because if they tell you to go from here to there, you're going to be okay. But if you start
Mhm.
exploring a little bit, you're going to be in a heap of trouble. But eventually you can come back and take on the enemy. So it's a good game. It doesn't play like a lot of these kind of action RPGs do. The story is good, and you really feel like you're part of something because of the way it forces you to. And I should say you get to pick your community. There are kind of two sides in the story, and you're going to decide who you kind of support and who you don't. Which of course adds to replay too, because after you finish the game, you can go back and pick the other side if you want. But a unique game, looks good. It has some bugs, but like I said, check the review, and I'll go into some details on those.
Cool. Thank you. It does look. I quite like the look of it. So yeah, hopefully it gets a good review from Kirk. Anything else to add before we close things off for the week?
I would say if any subscribers got your copy of P&M in the mail, show it off on social media. We're on Blue Sky and stuff. And Gemma will say that, but yeah, show it off. We want to see you holding it and reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really cool. Thank you, Trev. Yes, well, that brings us to an end of the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you both for joining me this week and talking about all things Nintendo. We are definitely on social media, so if you'd like to follow us, please join us on Blue Sky. We did jump on the Blue Sky bandwagon before this last round of mass exodus from Twitter. But yeah, it is a great platform. So join us on Blue Sky. And we are still on Twitter for now, as well as Mastodon. So we're just at Pure Nintendo over there. We are also on YouTube, obviously. If you are watching this on YouTube, you already know that. But if you aren't, you can also catch us over there as well. Please like and subscribe this video if you do happen to be watching on YouTube. We're also at the early stages of our next magazine, P&M, as Trev alluded to. So if you'd like to support us, please do so over at patreon.com/purenintendo, and you will get yourself a physical copy of a magazine in the coming months when the next issue is ready. I think that's about it, though. So thank you again, and until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.
So long.